Welcome to this exercise on experience curve effects. Here we have first our cost calculation, starting with material and production costs, getting to the cost of production, and then to our calculated prime costs. That is the is situation, so that's the current state of our costs. In addition to this current situation, we have here an overview how over the different years the output developed and thus the cumulated output of our company. Based on this output, we can say that we gained some experience in the production process. This is expressed with the experience gain at this point, which then relates into we have a reduction of our per unit costs. So that's the part which is of primary interest for us, because this tells us how our production costs, so everything for this first part here, will reduce over time. Well, as I said, those experience gains, they refer to the production process. So what we actually talk about here is something like process innovations. Well, those process innovations only apply to the production process, so they will not be directly reflected down here. If we have, as in this case, values of 7%, 2% of the production cost, they will also reduce by the respective factor, but that's just due to the way of calculation. Usually administration and sales are not impacted by process innovations. They might be impacted by marketing or organizational innovations, but that would be different kinds of experience gains. Here we're simply talking about the production process. Well, with this information beforehand, we then have basically two questions. First question, by what percentage does the unit production cost decrease with every doubling of the years of experience? And this question can already be answered based on this table, because if we take a look, in year 1, we're at 100%. In year 2, so doubling, first doubling, we decrease the cost by 10%. So we only have a factor of 0.9. If we go from year 2 to year 4, so again doubling the time of experience, reduces from 0.9 to 0.81, again reduces by 10%. Going from year 4 to year 8, reduces again by 10%. So in other words, every doubling of the years of experience reduces our costs by 10%. Well, but that's not everything. Our main task actually is determine the prime costs in the 3rd and 5th year of production. And that's what we're actually going to go with. So I'm going to copy the cost calculation from the current year, and then I'm going to use my experience multiplier for the 3rd year, which was 0.85. So all the production costs, all the costs up here are multiplied with this factor of 0.85, giving me these new costs of production. Of course, I could just calculate 19 times 0.85, get this value, calculate 10% of this, as with the material overheads. But to make our lives easier, we can simply say this factor applies to everything relating to production, so all of these can be multiplied with 0.85. Giving us here the new reduced costs of production. Of those, I'm going to calculate the administrative overhead, 7%, and the sales overhead, 2%. The special costs of sale will stay the same for the simple reason that, as I said, this factor only applies to our production process, not to administration or sales. That's why they are not impacted by it. So same costs here, giving us here a reduction in prime costs of, well, roughly $9 or euros. This was year 3. We can do the same for year 5. Here we have a cost multiplier of 0.75. So the whole part of the original production cost calculation is just multiplied with 0.79, giving me these new values here. Again, based on the newly reduced cost of production, 7% for administration overheads, 2% for sales overheads, and the special costs of sale remain the same. So I can add those three to the cost of production, getting here the new reduced prime costs. And well, that's already everything there is to this exercise. We simply have to multiply with the respective multiplier for the year, which results from our experience gains, the production costs, maybe recalculate overheads if they refer as a percentage value to the cost of production. Otherwise, everything which is fixed costs of administration and sales would remain the same as is. Well, as I said, that's it. We can just recapitulate the first part of the question with the doubling of the years leading to cost reductions of 10%. So we have all the solutions on one slide. Then we're done with this exercise. I hope you enjoyed it. I say goodbye and see you next time.